Hello and welcome to another episode of All Elite Arcade. I am Evil Udo, here always with my good friend the Chugs, and this week is a very big week. It's Silksong week, and we will talk all about Silksong. But I also have to say that while this is also Silksong week, and I know both me and the Chugs played an enormous amount of the video game, I also played an enormous amount of other video games. What about you?
Uno, same here. I don't know if it was the hype from Silksong or what it was, but I think since we started this podcast, this was the most gaming I've got done in a week. I have a ton to talk about. It was awesome. Very, very fortunate that I had so much free time to be able to get some gaming in, because I got some exciting stuff to talk about. Now you know you do too.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. If this week was one of my first weeks where I didn't have a whole lot of stuff to do, and I took full advantage of it. In fact, I had this weird itching feeling where I was like, if I don't finish or play these games, Silksong will come out and I will never play through these games. And so on top of playing, I think about 12 hours of Silksong, which we will talk about very shortly. I also played Metal Gear Solid Delta, and not only did I play it, I beat the entire campaign as well.
Let's go, dude.
In a day and like 2 extra hours the next day. I just like woke up and religiously played nonstop the entirety of the day. And I'm a Metal Gear fan. I think like a lot of people, there's no denying that Metal Gears are great games. I actually played 1 and 2, and while everyone gravitated towards 3, it never really connected with me, with the exception of like the music. Something about that game never connected nearly as well as the first 2. And then 4 actually reconnected with me to Metal Gear in an immense way. Metal Gear Solid Delta is actually the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. It is built in now on the same engine as Metal Gear Solid 5, now that Konami has been continuing. You know, there was a very short period ago where we thought Konami was going to go downhill. They were going to make pachinko machines. They were never going to touch any of their cool IPs again. And I'm glad to say that that is not the case. This game is great. It's well packaged. It plays very well. It is a gorgeous. David Hayter is still involved. It's still got all of his voice acting. They re-recorded new versions of the music. So there's a new Snake Eater song. It is incredible. It's got all of the highlight moments. You've got your ladders in there. You've got all of your bosses, including the pain, the sorrow, and so on. And I, this time around, enjoyed it way more than when I was a kid. I've only ever played this game once. And now that I've beat the campaign, there's still a lot to explore. There's a whole, and I don't know if this was in the original. I know the original is packed with secrets and stuff, but I'm now on my New Game Plus run of the game. And I don't typically do this often, but considering I beat the game so quickly, I felt like I needed to. And I'm already unlocking a bunch of extra outfits. I'm already seeing that there's going to be more unlocks as I play. There's a bunch of extra challenges for me to unlock because there's a whole tree of challenges in your menu that give you different titles, that unlock different cinematic pieces, which is very odd. So like all of the cinematic pieces from the game are in one inventory, and then there's a secret inventory of different versions of those. And a slight spoiler, but when you beat the game, it redoes the intro mission video, and instead of when you get Sokolov, which is what you're essentially doing at the very beginning of the game, is you're trying to rescue Sokolov. Sokolov suddenly has like Dragon Ball powers and starts shooting lasers at everyone, and everyone explodes. It's a very odd, like, it actually is what made me play New Game Plus. Is I played New Game, beat it, went into the menu, I saw there's now a secret database of videos. This was the first video, and there's like 16 of them, and I need to know what else is in these videos, because they're really, that first one was weird enough to inform me that yes, you should play more of this game and unlock it. So now I'm going and I'm doing a hardcore run of the campaign, hoping to get through that. I probably will not play more Metal Gear for at least a couple more weeks, if I'm being honest. But been enjoying that a lot, and I also really enjoyed the mode with the Ape Escape battles. That is also included in this version. If you liked Metal Gear Solid 3, great place to go. Incredible remaster. If you don't know anything about Metal Gear, I think this is a great game to jump into as well, because it is a very clean game, very fun, very straightforward. And I played on normal, challenging, but not severely hard. And there's at least 3 more difficulties above it. So if you are someone who is looking for something challenging, it's there, as well as there is much easier versions of it as well. And that's actually not all I did. I also ended up playing a complete point-and-click game called The Drifter, available on Steam and maybe on consoles. I'm not quite sure, but I ended up playing it on Steam. I want to give a nod to this because it's hard to talk about a point-and-click game, but this is a point-and-click game where you were a homeless man who was going back to the funeral of his mother. And in the process of doing that, you're realizing that other homeless people are being afflicted with like some form of illness that is driving them insane. And then the story kind of progresses from there as you go through the different acts, and you kind of learn about what is going on with like your brethren and the people that surround you. And, you know, that goes into different scenes. But I did want to talk about it because I think this I think might make my game of the year list, because
oh wow, I
was shockingly surprised how good the voice acting and the storytelling in this game was. I think you could play through it in 5-6 hours, which I think is a great amount of time when it comes to the point and click game. But it's visually stunning. It has a very beautiful, like 16-bit hazy style to it. The color palette's incredible. And even like the engine that they use for point and click game, this is from, I believe, Powerhoof, and they made this game because they made the engine to make point and click games, and they made this game as an example of what you could do with their engine, and the game is incredible. So if you have the chance, go try The Drifter. That is on Steam. It's available right now. It may be one of those weird hidden gems at the end of the year where people will list them in honorary mentions saying, hey, this is a great game. Because right now there's at least like, my list is hard. I've already started taking a list down. It's like 15 games deep already. And I know there's like 3 more months of video games that we need to get through. I just want to make sure if you're one of those people that loves point and click games, you definitely should give The Drifter a try. I'm going to pass the floor to you, Chugs, because before we talk about Silksong, I know you've got at least like 3 more games to talk about.
I do. I think even more than that, Uno. I got a lot of games to talk about. Again, it was a great week as far as getting quite a bit of video gaming in. I always start with Pokemon trading card game Pocket. I officially have completed all the missions that I'm supposed to complete, which has been nice. But currently, there is this drop event that's happening where you have to do these random battles anywhere from beginner all the way to expert. And if you win, you have a chance at getting this booster pack with like a very exclusive card that's only going to be around for 2 weeks or so. So I got 4 of the 5 cards, and the 5th and most rare card I am still fighting for. It's taken me a while. Normally I'm able to get it after a couple days. It's been probably a week, and I'm still trying to get this card, and I can't get it. I think I have, like I said, about another week to make it happen. So my fingers and toes crossed I can get this card, because these promo cards, like I said, I mentioned this before, but it's a bummer, because if you missed them in the beginning, I don't see how you could ever get them back. And I don't see anyone trading them because it's one of one. So it's one of those where if you're too late, that's it, and you can't get it. I hope someday I'll be able to collect some of these, because I want to collect them all. I want to collect them all, Uno. But in addition to that, on stream, before we get into the main event today, I am also playing what many people are calling the game of the year, certainly in contention, that being Expedition 33. And all that I want to say, I know I have praised this game's combat, its story, its voice acting, its music, its environments. I refuse to say any spoilers about this game, because I think everyone needs to experience it for themselves. This is one of those games that, like I said, I know sometimes we talk about things that happen in the story or things that happen in the game. Just please go play Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I recently finished Act 1, and my mind continues to be blown by how absolutely incredible and unreal this game is. It really, really is. This game has made me feel about a story more impacted and more excited about where things are going than any video game in recent memory. It is absolutely a masterpiece. It's crazy to be able to say that. I know we'll get into Silksong later, but I thought for sure Silksong was going to be my game of the year when that day comes. And now I don't know. Yeah. Expedition 33 has just been so unbelievably awesome. And that's no knock on Silksong, because that's incredible. And we will get to that. But once again, please go play Expedition 33. It's an absolute masterpiece. And in addition to that, I did finish my 13th game this year. Uno, I finally finished South of Midnight on my PC. I know I said I was pretty close to finishing that game. So just kind of a general recap. I won't go into too much story stuff because, once again, I think one of the highlights of South of Midnight is indeed its story. It's a 3D platformer action game that's super fun. Talk about great music. It has great music. It has beautiful environments. There's a really well-woven story throughout this game that, once again, I do think that is the highlight of this game. The combat is fun. The exploration is fun. The areas are very pretty. The voice acting is great. The story is just, it's so awesome. So I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with this game. So if you're looking for a fun 3D action platformer with some combat in there, with some beautiful scenery, most importantly, an absolutely beautiful story, can't recommend South of Midnight enough. Definitely glad I played it. Also, we had 2 games come out recently. 2 Ninja games, one being Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and one being Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Well, I decided, this was before Silksong came out, I decided I'm going to try to play both simultaneously. So I put a lot of time, probably a little bit more time, into Ninja Gaiden Ragebound because I started with that one. But I also put some time into Shinobi Art of Vengeance. And let me tell you, I know these games are side-scrolling ninja games, but they're both very, very different in a really cool way. So to me, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, very more action-focused, stage-focused, a lot of fast twitch reactions and things like that, which is really cool. Of course, there's secrets and things that you can find. The combat can be very, very tricky when it comes to the bosses and even some of the areas. But I really love the story and the idea. Just minor spoilers for Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. You are one ninja from one clan and then another rival clan. You kind of have the spirit of that ninja. So you are working together to be able to fight through these enemies and defeat these demons and stuff as you're going through the stages. I think I'm pretty close towards the end of this game. That's going to be put on hold for a while now, unfortunately. But again, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is super fun, fast twitch, action heavy, really, really fun. Shinobi also, again, definitely action focused, but I think it's more combat focused in the sense of having combos and different strategies and different moves or spells that you want to use. Also, there are some very much some Metroidvania aspects within Shinobi as well, where after you unlock a certain ability, you're going to want to go back to this stage and try to collect some of these items. So not a full-blown Metroidvania by any means, but definitely has aspects of it. Again, to me, it's more like planning your attacks and planning your timing. Not like a Souls-like or anything, but to me, less fast twitch. Of course, you got to react quickly. But again, both games are awesome. If you were interested in playing either Ninja Gaiden Ragebound or Shinobi Art of Vengeance, I think both of them are worth your time. And I'm glad that I was playing them both at the same time because I think they complement each other really, really well. And then one more thing before we get to the big one is I did finally, I decided, because I have a puppy now, so it's very, very hard for me to come down into the game cave and play because she's not allowed down here yet because she's still a puppy. So it's hard for me sometimes to be able to get the gaming that I want to in. But with the PS Portal, I have the ability to be upstairs on the couch watching my puppy or playing with my puppy in between being able to play my PlayStation 5 games. I got the 30th anniversary edition of the PS Portal, and let me tell you, the screen is beautiful. Beautiful. It's an LCD screen, but it's big. The colors pop. It's very, very sharp. It looks great. It literally looks exactly like your PlayStation 5, just on this little screen. And I decided to play a little bit of the first Berserker Kazan, because that's the game I'm working on my PlayStation 5, which I've not had the chance to jump into near as much as I would like. And it ran flawlessly. It ran great. The speakers sounded really good. I had just one hiccup in the time that I played, where I disconnected from the internet for 2 seconds. I didn't lose my progress. It just buffered for a second to get it to work. It was like I was right where I left off, so there were no issues there.
No input lag at all while you were playing it, like because that's a game that's pretty like heavy on rolls and striking. So
Yeah, it did not lag one time.
Wow.
One time. I mean, don't get me wrong. It doesn't look as beautiful as on like I have a 65-inch OLED LG
HDR,
TV. So
yes, yeah.
again, that looks gorgeous. But this screen really packs a punch. It has, like I said, great colors, great visuals. I had no frame rate drops, no hiccups. Now again, I'm playing from my home upstairs with my internet, and I have pretty decent internet, so I'm not sure how it would work outside of my home, but in my home, it works great. And I was also very impressed. The haptic feedback on this thing, it's just like a PlayStation 5 controller.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so cool. So I'm imagining now, as I'm trying to platinum Astrobot at some point, being able to do that upstairs. And again, I love that it's the 30th anniversary edition, so it looks like a PlayStation 1 controller. But I had been curious about that for the longest time. A couple of friends of mine have had them. I'm very, very glad that I did. I'm very much in a handheld mood with the Steam Deck Switch 2, the Xbox Ally coming out soon, and of course now the PS Portal, the rumors of the PS6 being handheld. So I don't know, but yeah, definitely worth it. Really, really dig that purchase for sure.
That's what I was going to say. With PS6 being rumored to be a handheld, it is at least interesting to know that even on a pure cloud device, it runs so well. It looks so clean. I could see PlayStation really doing well if they make their own handheld. I mean, I know both of you and I will be the same, but that's a day one purchase for me for sure.
Oh, absolutely, especially with the way we travel and things like that. It's so important. But yeah, it works so well. Looks great. Definitely glad I got it. But now for the big one.
I can't believe we waited so long for this.
We waited years for this. We finally got our hands on Hollow Knight Silksong. I cannot believe it's here. Uno, I know you put a lot of time in it. I put a lot of time into it. I'm playing the game. I'm streaming the game. The game is, and I'm trying to think about how I want to word this, because again, similar to Expedition 33, but just for different reasons. Hollow Knight Silksong is a game that you should experience. So, Uno, I don't know if you plan to, but probably won't dive into too many spoilers.
No, I'm going to try to keep this as close to the vest. I think, story. I'm not going to tell you anything about story beats. I may not even mention a specific bosses, but I think there are mechanics we could definitely talk about, the general feel of it. I will say also, gorgeous looking game. So much more colorful than the original game, which is still a gorgeous game of its own, but this one like has colors that pop. You can see like the use of HDR is massive in this game for sure. There's all kinds of incredible particle physics. One thing I really want to mention before we get into like the mechanics and just how we're genuinely, I don't know if you guys know this, but we're probably going to love this game when we're about to talk to it. But one thing I was super big about was the particle physics on you've different currencies you can acquire. Some of them are circular, some of them are jagged, and you can literally move those pieces around the map without grasping them if you wanted. You can hit them across the map. If it's in like a location that you can't make, but your needle can make it, you can pop those off that platform towards you. I don't know why, but in the first 15 minutes, they presented me with some of that stuff, and I was like, I can't believe. And I know in the first game there was also similar mechanics as well, but man, it feels so good to see the care they put into even the smallest of details. And I think as we progress this, you're gonna see that like there's a lot of care put in everything in this game.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, in addition to the beautiful environments, it runs so smooth.
Oh, yes.
Apparently, Silksong has twice as many songs as they did in Hollow Knight, which is amazing. They released the soundtrack on YouTube, which is really cool. And so far, every single song fits the mood so perfectly.
Yes.
That intro area with that song is so perfect and so appropriate. The first town that you go to has such a great feel for the environment of the town. They did an incredible job with the music as well. And then I also did want to mention is, once again, because this is a Hollow Knight Metroidvania, it's filled with secrets, baby.
Oh, so many.
There are secrets galore, and no one does it better than Team Cherry in the sense of if you see something that you're like, I wonder if there's something up there, there's something up
100%. Yes.
Every single time. And sometimes it's a incredibly important item. Sometimes it's maybe something a little bit smaller, but it was so worth it for the traversal, which I know we want to get into the movement and stuff like that later. But my God, it's the sense of wonder. I know I always use that, but I started saying that term more with Hollow Knight. Silksong is giving me that exact same feeling that Hollow Knight did times 10, because I feel like this game's going to be huge.
I think so too. And to kind of pile up on your thoughts on music, I really like, especially in the early parts of the game, that the music is kind of used sparingly, so that when you get to a region or you get to a specific moment in the game and you start hearing it swell up, you know you're about to either discover something, you're about to discover a new location, you're about to get to a boss, or you're getting to a cutscene, which, by the way, a fair amount of cutscenes as of yet. I've seen 3 as of yet in the 10 hours. That's a little more than even Hollow Knight. I think in Hollow Knight I remember maybe 3 or 4 total. And this one has a lot more story beats to the game, and a lot more learning about who Hornet is, what the situation is. We're not going to give you any of those details ourselves, but even like in the original game, you talk to a lot of different characters, but you're never an active participant in this one. In this one, Hornet actually talks. She has her own dialogue, so you get to learn a lot about how she feels. You get to learn about, like, you don't have to assume what is going on. You really get the tone of what is the importance of what's going on, how she feels. It's been very fascinating to go through the first 10 hours, because I don't know if I understand the scope of this game yet, because it feels big, and without saying anything, I feel like this may be like, I'm 10 hours in and I feel like I might be not even a quarter through this. It looks like it's gonna be massive.
I don't want to get my hopes up, because already it's been amazing.
Yes.
But it does feel like it's going to be massive to a surprising degree. Like it really, really does. Really does. I do want to say as well, though, talking about small details, I'm just getting so excited talking about this. But like you said, with Hornet's dialogue, I really appreciate that and really like it. Hornet is just as cool as she was in Hollow Knight, if not cooler in Silksong. She's really, really cool. But again, Uno, when you were talking about small details with particles and stuff, because this made me think of it as far as audio design. There's a point towards the beginning where you're in like an echoey area, and if you swing your needle and Hornet makes a sound, her voice like echoes.
Yes.
Like in just that area.
Yes.
I'm like, what? It's so cool.
And then
it's
even
so
like
awesome.
the pattern on what surface you're on, if it's ground, if it's water. Like the audio design in this has been unreal. And I wish, and truthfully, I've been listening through my Switch 2. So I've been playing this on Switch 2 because I wanted it on the road. And while the sound is incredible with that, I kind of wish, and I will replay this game, I really want to hear it with like full 3D audio headset, because I feel like the music is so stunning, the sound design is so stunning, and I know they probably went the extra mile and really made spatial stuff. So I'd be very fascinated to see what that sounds like on a headset.
Yeah, me too. You know it's going to be beautiful. But Uno, we do have to talk a little bit about the movement and the combat and things like that. Again, no story spoilers at all, but this one feels a lot deeper than Hollow Knight. And Hollow Knight was a very, very deep game with a bunch of different mechanics and stuff. But specifically, I did want to talk about this. So obviously, minor mechanic spoilers.
Minor mechanic spoilers.
Minor mechanic spoilers.
We can't talk about mechanics without talking about this. So.
Right. And we're excited. But also, again, so at Hollow Knight, it was so important to use the mechanic known as pogo, where you would jump with the knight and you would hit the spikes and be able to bounce and jump around and do some harder areas. If you were really good, you could do some hard areas early, which was awesome. So at least as far as I know, I have not been able to pogo with Hornet yet. I've been put in a situation where if you try to go on spikes, I just end up falling in the spikes. You may be able to if you wait a little bit later. But the interesting thing is Hornet doesn't down slash. She does like a dive slash. where she goes down just kind of to the side. But there are platforms and there are areas that you can bounce off of in this game. And Uno, I'm having some trouble.
Me too.
It is pretty tricky.
There's some really challenging platforming in this game. Like, well, the first game did as well, but you know, I'm 10 hours in, and there's at least 3 regions where I'm like, wow, we're talking upper gamer levels here. People who, I mean, we're upper gamer level at this point. Yeah. And I'm having a hard time doing this. And it will not hold your hand. There is no way around it. You have to learn the mechanic. And also, there are boss battles where I've seen, if you are not good and savvy at that mechanic, it will make it much more difficult. That diagonal slash gives you a little bounce, so you can literally bounce from one object to an object to another object, but it is much different.
And on enemies. On
enemies as well. And also, a little tidbit, those enemies, a lot of those flying ones, you can use those as an extra leverage to get to higher spots, right? So if you just, even early on in the game, there are a lot of secrets that if you just wait for a flying enemy to get near, you could probably access those top parts. It's
definitely.
That's another part I really like about this game. It is locked out and mechanically locked out in a way that obviously there are regions you cannot go in until you get further abilities, but there are tricks to get around certain areas of that, and it's accounted for. Like, the things you will find will not break, you know, the greater story of the game will not break your progress. It's very interesting that and because they had to be aware. They had to be aware you could do these things. And,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And in addition to the movement and things like that, all the different, again, with different things you can equip, like crests and things like that, to get certain bonuses, the different abilities that you get along the way, the different skills that you get along the way is really cool. I won't say, you know, what they do exactly, but it really, not only can these be powerful skills when you fight enemies or bosses, these skills can help you advance to where you're going, which happens often as well. So that part has been really cool, very intricate. It's still so early in the game. You can tell that there's going to be so much more out there. Yeah. And I did want to mention. Oh, go ahead.
If you don't mind, I do want to bounce up on that skill tree thing. And minor spoiler. Here comes the X. The skill tree portion of it is, you know, in the original, you got to assign one crest, I believe, right? And you got to use this in, oh no, not a crest. Sorry, you would one like
charm.
One charm. You could use one charm at a time. In this one, or eventually, I think you could do multiple. My bad.
You could.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was based on how many. I remember now. Some
notches.
Some charm notches. You needed 4. Some you needed 2, and then you could piece it together. In this one, it's actually split out in different classes of charms, and then your crests are different shapes that you can add notches to it. So you can end up with a bunch of them. But, and here's your minor spoiler, you can have multiple different crests.
Yeah.
Preset with different things. And so you can, and the crests have their own abilities too. You can go to a bench and switch your play style very easily with like some defined ones. And that's been super fascinating because I now have a defense heavy one. I have an exploration one. I have an attack one now. And that's been very useful on my journey as of yet because the bosses are very difficult as well.
Yeah. God, very, very tricky. And then also, too, is again, I think a lot of the things that I loved and you loved and many people loved about Hollow Knight, these are also minor spoilers as well. But in regards to the exploration, that is obviously just as, if not more important. Yes. Immediately wanted to get the map, the quill, the compass right away. If someone for the first time is jumping into Hollow Knight or Silksong, I would highly recommend that. It makes your journey.
It is the most important thing to do. Yes,
much easier. But I also love that we have this new character. I won't say their name, but we have this new character who sings very similar to the map maker in Hollow Knight, which is very cool. It's a different song, different character completely, but I love that they kept that touch in, where if you hear off from a distance someone singing, most likely this is who you're looking for to collect your map. The traversal, where you have to find fast travel points, is also very similar, but they added a big twist on that one, which is really, really cool. So there's just, they somehow managed, this is a Hollow Knight game. Yes. But it feels completely new and completely fresh and so cared for. I am so excited that me, you, and millions of other people are excited to go on this journey. It's so, what I love too is when I played Hollow Knight, I was late to the party. Yes. The game had already been out for a while. Everyone was raving about it. I kept hearing about it. I'm like, oh, I got to jump into this. Now, there's never been a better time to play this. Everyone's playing it at the exact same time. Everyone's enjoying it at the exact same time. This is awesome. I will never forget this.
This is truthfully one of my favorite things in video games as far as an experience is when you get a game at the same time as everyone else. And I'm talking quite literally, reviewers have not dropped their reviews because they're actively playing at the same time as us. So there are no, by now, by the time this podcast come out, maybe there's a start of a walkthrough, but there is no walkthrough to go to. There is no spoilers if you go into Twitter or whatever your social platforms. Right now, we're all discovering it at the same time, and we're all talking about it at the same time. Same thing happened to me when I started Blueprints this year. This is my favorite moment of a video game, when everyone simultaneously discovers the scope of this, the weight of everything you're doing. It's even separate from this game, in any other game, this is what I thrive for in a lot of ways. Yep. Is that sense of collaborative discovery, and it's been incredible. And just as a generality, this is definitely more Hollow Knight. And while Hollow Knight was a great game, this feels like, and this seems insulting to the first game, it is not. This feels so clean. I don't know how to define it any better, but it does not feel. It feels better in every way mechanically than the first game.
Yep.
Even though the first game felt perfect, this feels even more perfect. It's like laser focused, including we talked about this off screen, but like the platforming, you can leap and grab onto an edge, but if you're like a millimeter off from that edge, it will not grasp on. It is precise. The hitboxes are super precise. It's fascinating how they essentially took their original mechanic and fleshed it out. It's much quicker. As you unlock abilities, the pace of this game is much quicker because Hornet is a much quicker character, and every piece they've added feels so cleaned and adds something truly unique and different than the first game. And it's gonna be hard to tell if this is Game of the Year or not, but right now it's getting up there. It's getting up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be a battle for me between Expedition 33 and Silksong. My God, two just incredible titles with small teams who poured their heart and soul into these incredible games. I did want to mention this too. I know we're all over the place with Silksong. I'm just so excited. But I know too, initially seeing Hornet's movement, I know some people were wondering how heavy Hornet was going to feel. And Hornet, I can't even explain this. You just have to play it yourself. Hornet absolutely is heavier, but doesn't feel slowed down or hard to move in any way. But she feels different than the Knight. She doesn't feel as floaty or as light as the Knight does.
There's definitely more weight on the leaps, for example. Like the downward portion is much quicker.
More weight on the leaps, but when she's going fast, she goes really fast. And my God, mechanically and technically, Hornet does exactly what you need her to do. It's incredible. It's so incredible.
So if you did not know, we're loving Silksong.
We're loving it.
And I'm sure you guys are playing it as well. If you are, go to youtube.com/AEW Games. Get in our comments. Let us know what you are feeling as the first little bit of Silksong. Please do not spoil anything. It would crush me to find out some late game stuff. Please don't do that to me. But I would be fascinated and very interested to hear what y'all are thinking about the very beginning of the game. Because I do know some people who are not enjoying it.
Really?
Yes, there's a lot of people that think that mechanically it's not doing enough, and I think that's wrong you just need to keep unlocking stuff, because I'm now a little deeper than Chugs is, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see that like every issue you would have with the game early on, which I had no issue. I know how this works. Yeah. You're going to get an answer to it later on. It is structured in a way that is it is a Metroidvania. You're going to unlock those ability over time. But
and Hollow Knight did that as well. Because I remember too is playing Hollow Knight for the first time and then eventually getting all the abilities. To start a fresh file, you feel so like trapped.
Yes,
you feel like you can't move at all. You can't do anything. But then by the end of the game, you're like, oh my god! You can tell that Silksong is going to be that same way. I've already seen it, and I'm sure you have as well. And I'm so excited to see where it goes.
And and this is a last little like inside baseball. We're recording this on Saturday. The game's been out for 2-3 days at this point. And truthfully, I have not seen a review drop, which means there's no way this game is not lengthy, because it's already been out for 72 hours. There's some real maniacs that would have completed the story within those 72 hours. I have a feeling this is going to be massive. Very early on in the game, there's even an indication of maybe it being big. If you read into something, and I cannot wait. I feel by next week we're going to be talking about completely different things. I'm very fascinated.
Oh, we definitely are. We definitely are. And I can't wait to have our weekly Silksong talks. Can't wait.
Anyways, that is it for now, but we will be back with the news right after this. Welcome back. It is time to talk about the news of the week. And can you believe that the news of the week is also mostly about Hollow Knight Silksong?
Can you believe it?
Can you believe that? The largest release of this month as of yet. There will be more releases this month coming up. But people have been waiting a long, long time for this game. And I will tell you a few news pieces, and it will show you just how important of a game this was. Starting with Silksong released on September 4th, correct? Yes, September 4th on Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I know this from experience because me and the Chugs were in a text chain back and forth. But if you opened, and I did, by the way, if you opened Steam and Switch at 10 a.m., Steam and all of the Nintendo platforms crashed for several hours. Game Pass was also affected because Game Pass offers the game for free. And supposedly that was incredibly hard to either purchase Game Pass or even downloading the game. It kept regularly crashing Game Pass. This is PlayStation Store as well. This is a huge release. This 4 platforms broken from an independent video game. I don't know if this has happened before.
I've never seen it before. I don't know if it has happened before, but I never, you know what, it was funny too, is because Uno, we were texting back and forth. In the beginning, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Then after a couple hours, I started being like, okay, I really want to play Silksong now. Literally, I've never seen Steam completely shut down. Nintendo eShop, the PlayStation Store, Xbox, you couldn't buy the game if you wanted to because there was so much traffic going in. I know some people were getting it or like getting lucky or whatever, but it was unbelievable. It reminded me of like trying to pre-order a PlayStation 5 or trying to pre-order an Xbox Series X, only with a game. An independent game from Team Cherry for $20 shut down every video game store on the planet practically. It was wild.
Yeah, at 10 a.m. I started opening. So at 9:55, Steam was fine. Absolutely fine. At 10 a.m., and I had already had the shop open. I was just refreshing it for when it would be available. At 10 a.m., my Steam shuts down. And and I got very lucky compared to most people, for 25 minutes straight. Not even kidding. All I did was hit refresh. And it would just pop up this message of like Steam OS not loading, Steam OS not loading. And I would just keep doing it. I was like, at some point, it'll go through. And a few times, the page would pop up, but then the cart would crash. Yeah. It took me 25 minutes, but eventually I got in the razor thin margin, and I was one of the few people able to buy the Steam version and my Switch version. I was simultaneously doing both at the same time. And then it sucked because we were talking about it. You could not get the game for about 2 hours. I had the game, but I had to leave my house.
Which is incredible, though. But Uno, thanks to you, I was able to get the game. So same thing. Going on Steam, at first the Steam store was just crashing nonstop. Then for an hour, I got it into my cart and I could see it. But when I went to check out, there was an error and I couldn't do anything. I'm like, oh my God, I kept refreshing it. I'm just staring at my Steam Deck, going back and forth, trying to load this. I couldn't get it working. And then you told me about Humble Bundle.
Yes.
Where you could get the game there. There were Steam keys there. So then I went and bought the game there. I'm all excited. And then I go to load up the page and it says, Humble Bundle says, we're all out of Steam keys for Hollow Knight Silksong. We'll let you know when we get some more. So I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. And then after still trying to get it in Steam, I got an email saying, hey, well, we got some Hollow Knight Silksong keys back. So then I went to my email, put in that Steam key, and about 2.5 hours later, it was downloaded and ready to go. But what a journey. What a journey. And then getting it on Switch 2, much easier for me because I got that later.
Oh, I had such a hard time with Switch because I was simultaneously doing it. Switch, instead of, you couldn't refresh the page, it would pop you out entirely of the app. It would crash the app. So even anytime I came close, it would crash me and I would go back to like a 10-minute process. Even though I'm playing it on the Switch, I ended up having to leave right after I purchased it on Steam. But I brought my Switch with me because I had to go run some errands and literally hotspotted off my phone so that the entirety of the time I am walking around with groceries, I was just tapping on this thing, crashing. Restart, and I was like, I am gonna get this game because when I get back, if I do not get to play Silksong, I'm gonna be pissed. And I was very thankful, and as you can tell, because we've talked about it so much, we got to play an immense amount of it.
Oh yeah,
and obviously we're not the only ones. The game's only been out for 3 days, but on the very first day, considering that a lot of people had a hard time purchasing this game, it hit insane numbers on Steam with 453,000 concurrent players, making the third most played game on Valve at the time, behind only Dota and Counter-Strike 2, which is not surprising. They get about 1 million players that they've been building a fan base constantly for about a decade, and Counter-Strike over 20 years at this point. And the numbers keep going up, because people keep getting it downloaded, people keep getting to play it. And this is just Steam. It's also on multiple platforms. It's on
right.
It's the top seller on Switch right now. I do not know about PlayStation and onwards, but that just gives you an idea. And then of course, Game Pass is a completely different thing. So how many people are genuinely playing this? We do not know. But at this very time, it's already the 29th most played Steam game of all time, with the likes of it may topple Helldivers 2 soon already, which is crazy to think about.
Unreal.
By far one of the most anticipated games, and you could tell because it is doing bonker numbers. And honestly, it's crazy to think that this is only $20. I saw a report, or at least it amalgamated some other developers and publishers about saying how it's actually a bad idea for them to release for such a cheap price, because now the precedence is that $20 can get you the greatest game of all time. How are we ever going to charge more than $20? It's crazy. They could have genuinely charged you $40-50, and I think everyone would have paid that. Yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
100%. I know a bunch of people were saying that they wish they could give Team Cherry more money. I know some people that bought it on every platform.
I bought it on 3 platforms already. So
yeah, right.
You can buy the soundtrack as well, which if you want to give them some extra money, that soundtrack also available on Steam right now. On that, man, we have a lot to talk about Silksong. We will get to, and truthfully, we will talk about more Silksong next week as well. But I think there are other news pieces we could talk about, including the IOI just released a state of play for 007 First Light. That is the creators of Hitman. They are making their own James Bond game. I did not get to catch the entirety of the state of play, but I did get to catch most of the gameplay stuff. This also seems to be focused more on a young James Bond, very early in his 007 days. He looks younger, but he's more brash. He's more he's less reserved. He's more. I mean, brash would be the best word I could use for that. And mechanically, it does look like Hitman a lot. It looks like a lot of the switching outfits, sneaking in, trying to use gadgets and plant them into places for explosives and so on and so forth. But it does also seem to have very large action pieces, because in this gameplay trailer, they showed one action piece beside a plane where a bunch of explosions is happening and you're kind of like dodging them as you're moving forward. So not entirely like Hitman. It definitely has some like Uncharted feels to it for sure.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for this game. When I was at Gamescom, you could not play it unless you had a meeting in their private booth, and I had access to the private booths. Private booths are usually built in a way that it's just like a box, nondescript box, and it says Microsoft or it says THQ Nordic or whatever. They must have believed very heavily in their game, because theirs was labeled like crazy. They had a brand new car parked right in front of it that you could go take pictures with. I feel like you're gonna see a lot about this game. I think they've got something here for sure. Hitman's always been an incredible series, but I think it will definitely lend its hand to the James Bond series.
I do too. Yeah, I think this does look like, again, from the section of the state of play I watched, also a lot of the gameplay. It does. It looks fun. It looks absolutely like an action adventure game, like you said, with some Uncharted inspiration. Certainly, you see that Hitman inspiration as well. But like you said, it doesn't seem like it's going to be all sneaking around and stuff like that. Also, I love a good prequel. Absolutely love a good prequel. So the fact that this is kind of how he becomes James Bond is so cool to me. So this is definitely one that I want to check out. Looks like a lot of fun.
And they unfortunately did not do a date, but I believe it is due sometime next year. To be seen. I feel like they wouldn't show us this much of it if it was 2 years from now.
Yeah.
But very excited to find out when it will eventually be released. That is 007 First Light, if you are taking notice. And then finally, I've got two little pieces of news I want to definitely talk about. Batman Arkham, we've been waiting for a new game. A lot of people have been talking about it. There's that new Lego Batman game that seems to have at least taken some of the mechanics from the Batman Arkham series and reutilize that. But we are getting a new Batman Arkham game, but not the one that you would think. Batman Arkham Shadow VR is actually getting a sequel, a new VR sequel, according to one of the actors who went out and said that they are working on the sequel of Arkham Shadow, which, by the way, I'm sure was not part of their NDA. They're definitely in trouble for that. But we are all very happy that they ended up releasing that information, because I want to play these games at some point. I definitely want to play the Batman Arkham Shadow VR 2. And that Deadpool game that they just ended up pushing back because of Silksong, now coming out next month, that looks very fun to play on VR as well.
And Uno it is, because I had the chance to play that Deadpool VR game at Summer Game Fest, which it was an absolute blast. So that one's definitely to keep one to keep your eye on. And yeah, same thing. I can't wait to check out this Batman Arkham VR game.
Yeah, VR not doing it is not the large change in video games we thought it would be, but it is still trucking on and still releasing a bunch of very interesting games. To be seen what's going to be that game that turns everyone around on it.
Yeah, right. As of now, it's a very nice niche market. I'm so glad that it exists. But you're right. There hasn't been one like blockbuster VR game. I thought maybe Half-Life Alyx was going to be but we're still waiting on that one.
Yeah. And then our final little piece of news, maybe not important to anyone else, but it is important to me. The Binding of Isaac. One of my favorite games of all time. It's a game I've put in over 300 hours on. Just playing it. It is a top-down roguelike. Well, the people who made that, who also made the original Super Meat Boy, are finally releasing gameplay for their game called Mugenics. That is a tactical RPG that they have been working on for 13 years.
Wow.
They've been teasing it for 13 years. Gameplay finally has come out on this game. It looks fascinating. If you know anything about the developer Edmund McMillan, he's got a very interesting art style, and he's got a very interesting sense of humor. Binding of Isaac was a lot of grotesque things to look at. This seems to be exactly the same, because it seems to be like a bunch of horrifying zombiekins mostly that are involved in this, such as the name Mugenics. But do check that out if you want to. They've released a big amount of gameplay reveal just recently, and I, for one, am very excited for Mugenics to come out. No date in mind yet, but this is already, we're getting closer, I would assume, because we're finally getting to see it. We're finally getting to see it.
Exactly.
That is it for our news for the week. If you think there's any news we missed, let us know on youtube.com/AEW Games. That is where our comment section resides. That is also where you can find our video formats of our podcasts. But the podcast keeps rolling on because our favorite segment of the show happens right after this. Welcome back. It is time for our favorite segment of the show, brought to you by our friends at upperdeck.com. Unlock the thrill of discovering autographs and memorabilia of elite wrestlers and champions. We actually have a pack, a metal pack, one of the most recent ones we've been unlocking. What do we have today, Chugs?
Oh, hey, well, look who it is. Look what the first card is, baby.
Oh, Adam Cole.
Oh,
whoa.
I like it. I like it.
We've got Julia Hart there.
Nice.
I love the sheen on this stuff.
I do
Baker,
too.
She's got a different card there. That's cool.
Yeah, that looks like a comic book almost.
Shibata.
Nice.
Two Shibatas.
Oh, two Shibatas?
Two different Shibatas?
Two different Shibatas,
and
dude?
Sky Blue.
Oh, what a pack.
What a
Double
pack.
Shibatas, Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah, they've got a beautiful sheen on all of those cards. That is the most recent metal pack, but you can get a bunch of other stuff. The Upper Deck Authenticated 2025 AEW Monumental Box contains 3 carefully handpicked memorabilia pieces with the chance to win a VIP fan service. Elevate your memorabilia collection and chase a variety of items from Adam Page, MJF, Kenny Omega, Sting, Tony Storm, Mercedes Moné, and many more. Visit upperdeckstore.com or click the link in the show notes and grab your AEW Monumental Box today. Chugs, we've got 3 questions today. Who we got?
Sure do. 3 questions, and we're starting off with Nathan. Nathan, thank you for the question. Nathan says, hey, Chugs and Uno, love the podcast. Please keep up the great work and positive attitudes. They are infectious. Thank you, Nathan. As I get older, the more I find the stories in video games get me emotional, almost to the point where I can't even talk about the story without tearing up. You sound like me, i.e. Expedition 33. There you go. Without giving spoilers, what are some of the more notorious tearjerkers you've played? Nathan, this is an incredible question, and Nathan, you and I are the same. The older I get, the more emotional I get. I have cried during more video games than I can count. I'm sure going to forget some. You know, the one that instantly comes to mind, again, I won't say story spoilers. The Walking Dead Season 1 is a big one. Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Red Dead Redemption 2. God, I could just, of course, Expedition 33, the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. There are so many games. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword destroyed me. I am a crier, Nathan, and definitely the older I get, the more emotional I get. And these stories are just so compelling and so incredible. I've said this before, but I do think when playing a game, that makes me more emotional than any other medium, than even movies or TV shows, just because you get attached to these characters and you're in these worlds for such a long time. So when something does happen, the emotion comes out strong. That's
much
for
more
sure.
impactful. So much more
impactful. It's my favorite medium in that sense of being able to bring out emotions and the combination of what's happening with the music and things like that. It's so incredible. It's so incredible. So Nathan, I'm definitely missing some. I could go on and on and on about games that have made me emotional, but there's a few of them. What about you, Uno?
On my side, I hate to be that guy, but I don't think I've ever cried at a video game. I've definitely gotten emotional. There's no denying. I've been emotional many, many times. The only time I think I may have shed a tear, and it wasn't like I was bawling, but it was like you mentioned the Final Fantasy VII remakes. I didn't know how much I love those games, the original Final Fantasy VII, until I played the remake, and the swelling of music started giving me chills, and I would start getting a little teary-eyed because I was like, oh my God, I have so much nostalgia from my childhood and I just didn't realize how much of it. So that is one of the moments I definitely have done that. I have been sad on many things, but I do want to say I'm not soulless. I'm not a soulless individual, because while I have not cried at video games, I've cried to a lot of movies in the last 5 years. A lot of them unjustifiably so as well. I have a history of crying at movies that I should not cry at. Most of the time I'm on a plane. It's not that I'm sleeping. It's the altitude. Something about the altitude gets me. I don't get it. I've cried at sure. I've cried at there's a Bike Messenger movie. Oh my God, Premium Rush, I think it was called. It's not even sad. The guy's delivering a package, and if he doesn't deliver the package in time, the package explodes and the entire city will explode. And for whatever reason, at one point, a taxi hits him, and the audio pitch went to a sad music in slow motion, and I started crying my eyes out. Out. One time in an airplane, I'm watching a communal movie where everyone's watching the same movie. It's called We Bought a Zoo. They finally open the zoo. I start crying. I start looking around. Not a single soul is crying except for me. Something about planes gets me. And that's just 2 of probably like 15 movies I've cried at on planes.
Yeah. It's we can be emotional guys. We can be emotional guys, you know. So Nathan, I'm right there with you. There have been many video games, many movies, many TV shows that I've cried to, and I know for sure there will be many, many more. I can't tell you how many times I cried on stream. Uno. I do remember the first time I cried on stream. I think it was Ghost of Tsushima. I think. I may be wrong. It may be maybe another game, but I've cried a lot. I've cried a lot.
I used to be a person that would never feel emotional on things, and now, and I know age definitely has contributed, like it adds to it for sure. But as I've grown older, the simplest things will make me start tearing up a little bit.
There's something about it.
Yeah. And joy. I've done a lot of joyful tears too. It goes on both ends.
Same for sure. So Nathan, great question. Great question. Thank you. Next up, Quickman. Quickman says, have you ever been extremely stubborn in sticking with a game that simply wasn't gripping you? I recently gave up on Persona 5 at the 60-hour mark because I was just convinced that eventually it would become my thing, and it never did. Quickman, great question.
Yes.
I personally have never run into this situation before. Now there have definitely been times I've maybe started a game and then another game came out and I started playing that instead. But I can't think of one that I played for a super long amount of time that didn't grip me. I know early on, and I know I've mentioned this story before, but initially The Witcher 3, like the first few hours, I was like, oh, this is okay. Like I'm enjoying it. I wasn't like, oh, this is terrible, I want it to stop. But then there was a point when I got out of the starting area where it clicked and I was like, oh my God, this game is incredible. But Quickman, I cannot think of one where I've been working on it for like 60 hours or so, just waiting for me to get gripped by it. What about you, Una?
This is finally my time. You know, you cried at all these movies. I've now got a bunch of stuff to talk about. This is one of my biggest problems with video games is I'm an extremely stubborn video game player. If I buy a game, I tell myself I should complete it. And most of the time what happens is that even games I love, very likely I've never finished because my brain tells me you need to see everything. You need to complete everything. And so, for example, I love all the Yakuza games, but I like all the Yakuza games up to a certain part because there's a certain part of my brain that tells me, do not do that final mission. You need to beat every baseball game, every golf course. You've got to do all the side stuff. And at that point, the fun is no longer there. It's absent. And I'm just pushing myself to do these things. And this is just one example, and those are games I like. There are games that I think are fine that I have invested hundreds of hours into. I would say the last 3 Assassin's Creed, great games, I'm sure, to some people, but I felt so unenthused by the content. Yet I've put, I think, 100 hours in Valhalla, and I'm over 40 hours in the most recent one, which I forget the name of, but I think it was Ninjas, maybe? No. But anyways,
Wait, the most recent Assassin's Creed?
Shadows. That's the one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I've done this for a lot of games, especially when it's a large open world game. Many times I'm unenthused by what I do, but my brain tells me, you purchased this, you need to invest the time it takes to beat it. Except a lot of these games, the time investment is hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I just can't. Eventually, I pull myself away from it, but there's a good, at least on Assassin's Creed, there's at least, I would say, collectively in the last 3, maybe 80 hours I should get back for myself. That I just did a bunch of side content that I did not feel even enthused to do. I just felt I have to do it because it's part of this game. It's a huge problem for me. It's a huge problem.
It's that completionist in your brain.
Yes. It's the same reason I've never played Skyrim, or I've never played any game that's super large. I just started Baldur's Gate recently, and now that I've taken a pause from it, I've played 5-6 hours of it. It's very hard for me to go back because I know the amount of content that's in it.
So much.
Skyrim's one of those. A lot of those games are like that. And then a final one I do want to mention is visual novel games. I like visual novels. I definitely love the payoff to a story, and so I end up trying to get to the very end of it. But recently, the developers of Danganronpa, which is a series of visual novels I really enjoy. It's about a killing game where 12 students are in a classroom, and one by one gets killed off, and you have to find who the murderer of that person is in a voting game at the end. Super fascinating. I've always enjoyed those games. The developer just recently made The 100 Line, which is a game that takes about 70 hours to complete the first ending of 100 different endings. I am 22 endings in, and while it is enjoyable, I can't, for the life of me, not feel like I am wasting my life doing this, because I feel like I've put 200 hours into reading at this point, but my brain tells me there's 100 endings. You need to see all 100. What I'm getting at is games are too big. Games are too damn big. Stop wasting your time. Don't be like me. And there's more. I've got so many more. We'll talk about some
I do love, Uno, I do love massive games, especially when I'm fully gripped by them. But you're right. Every now and then, playing a short game is just wonderful. Again, not to bring this up again, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. That's less than 10 hours, that game, I bet. And I'm not done with it yet, but I feel like I'm really close. So, again, sometimes a nice, impactful, great package doesn't have to be super, super long as well, which is cool, But
at the end of the year, I'm going to talk way more about the Drifter than I am going to talk about like some of the more lengthy games I played, and that's only been 5 hours. So,
right, yeah. Great question, Quick Man. And last but not least, from Timo. Timo says, "Hey, Uno, Chugs, and Aloy." Oh, I will tell Aloy that you said hello, Timo. I grew up as a Sega kid and still have fond memories of going to the mall with my mom. When she was grocery shopping, I would run over to Radio Shack to play Sonic. To this day, it's still my favorite franchise, and I even have 3 Sonic tattoos. That's awesome. One is the cover art from the Sonic 1 game, one is the Sonic and Knuckles logo, and the other is Metal Sonic. That's sweet. Damn. In my opinion, Sonic has always been cooler than Mario, and to this day, I'll never understand why the Hedgehog never took off the way that the plumber did. Especially when Sonic felt like he really embodied the coolness of the 90s and appealed to kids of that generation. My one guess is that Mario was a more versatile character. He was featured in multiple different types of games aside from platforming, Dr. Mario, Mario Tennis, Mario Paint, Mario Kart, etc., which appealed to different audiences, whereas outside of a pinball and puzzle game, Sonic has really been pigeonholed to speed-running platforms. I'd love to hear your thoughts on why Sonic couldn't keep up with Mario. Thank you. Timo, first of all, thank you for that story. Also, so cool that you have Sonic tattoos. That's amazing. But to answer your question, so this one's interesting. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, which, by the way, I am also a Sega kid. Sonic was the first video game mascot I never or ever knew about. I didn't even know Mario existed. I knew Sonic first and foremost, and I, to this day, love Sonic. My intro on my streams has like a Sonic intro. So absolutely love Sonic. But I think at the end of the day is Nintendo did win the console war.
Yes.
They really, really did. So at that point, as Nintendo started diving into, like you said, two different things like the Super Mario 64 with the 3D environments, Mario Kart and things like that, more people were buying Nintendo consoles. So obviously Mario took off even more. I think Mario at this point is like the Mickey Mouse of video games. He's the most famous mascot ever. However, Timo, I do think, all things considered, Sonic is doing pretty darn well.
Damn well.
Damn well. The movies are incredibly successful. I love that we're still getting new Sonic games that are still very, very good. My favorite to this day is like Sonic Mania, like that traditional 2D Sonic style games. I know Sonic isn't quite as big as Mario, but I don't think anybody is other than like Pokemon, maybe.
Yes.
But Sonic absolutely is one of the top players in gaming. But I know what you mean, wishing that he was even bigger, because I think Sonic is really, really cool too. But I think Sonic's doing well.
Yeah, I think so too. On my point, I think I reflect everything you've said. But Sonic, I think, just had a bunch of bad years because Sega proper had a bunch of bad years. Yeah, but if you're counting on like mainstream media, Sonic's been in more stuff than Mario in the last decade. Sonic has 3 movies. He's had a bunch of different TV shows. He's in a bunch of different games. Mario we actually see quite less of nowadays, with the exception of like Mario Kart or Mario Party. Mario just has the one proper game every like 6 years. And so we're actually seeing more Sonic nowadays than we are seeing Mario. But truthfully, it all comes down, again, to Nintendo being the big fish. I don't think anyone's ever going to topple over Mario. We're talking about 30 years being on top. There's no way around it at this point. It would take another 30 years of Mario eating dirt for it to ever come back around.
It really would. And hopefully we live in a world where Sonic can make an even bigger comeback. But we kind of see it too with like the Sonic racing game coming out. Looks amazing. Because I'm right there with you, Timo. I think Sonic is awesome. But I don't know if in our lifetime Mario will ever be toppled. He really is king. Yeah. He really is. Timo, great question.
Thank you so much, everyone that sent their questions today. If you would like to get your questions answered on a next episode of All Elite Arcade, you can go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. That is where you can send your questions to us. We pick 3 every single week. And by far, this is our favorite part of the show. Make sure you hit that subscription button or that follow button to make sure you know and get notified of when our next episode is out. If you did not know, our episodes drop every single Monday in the wee hours of the morning if you're listening on a podcast device. But if you want to see us on YouTube, you can. YouTube.com/AEW Games, noon Eastern Standard Time on Mondays is where you will find the video format of the All Elite Arcade podcast. As well, on Thursdays, MXM drops the Bronami Code. That is their weekly show where they play video games with AEW talents. You can find that on YouTube.com/AEW Games. I will be on Twitch in a week's time. I do not think I will get to Twitch stream this week, twitch.tv/evilno, but I do know a guy that will. Chugs will do
I will absolutely be on Twitch. This week, I'm going to be going back and forth between Claire Obscure Expedition 33 and, of course, Hollow Knight Silksong. 2 games that are probably going to battle it out for my game of the year, along with millions of other people. So if you want to see me stream Expedition 33 and Hollow Knight Silksong, you can find me at twitch.tv/thechugs.
You're playing the 2 powerhouses of this year already, simultaneously. What a life. At the
same time. What a life.
You can also, AEW Games also has a Twitch stream every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/AEW Games if you would like to see. Typically MXM hosts, occasionally I host as well, and there's a slew of other professional wrestlers that join us every single Monday, so do check that out. That is it for us this week, but I can tell you this, expect more Silksong next week, because quite literally I'm going to hop on a bus to work and play Silksong in that bus. I am so excited. I gotta get my fix. Got it. Thank you everyone for listening this week, and we will see you next Monday for another episode of All Elite Arcade. Bye bye.